Today, President Trump addressed the nation, offering a compromise to persuade House Democrats to come back to the negotiating table and fund the border wall. The partial government shutdown over border security is now in its 29th day. Nicole Killian has the latest from Washington.
President Trump announced a new proposal to extend temporary protection to 700,000 Dreamers and those with temporary protected status as a way to jumpstart negotiations on border security with Democrats.
This extension will give them access to work permits, Social Security numbers, and protection from deportation.
He's making the offer to try to end the 29-day-old partial government shutdown. In exchange, the president wants $5.7 billion to fund a wall on the southern border.
As a candidate for president, I promised I would fix this crisis, and I intend to keep that promise one way or the other.
Democrats have their own plan to add more money to spending bills up for votes on border security next week, but it does not include funding for a border wall.
I'm not for a wall. I'm not for a wall. I'm not for a wall.
In a statement, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called the president's proposal a compilation of several previously rejected initiatives, and taken together, they are a non-starter. Democrats are pressing the president to reopen the government before negotiations resume.
This is a shutdown that's the longest in history. It's the dumbest in history. And it may well be the most damaging in history.
Thousands of federal workers are caught in the middle of the border security fight. If a deal is not reached by early next week, they'll miss a second paycheck. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Washington.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he'll hold a vote on the president's bold plan next week. Thousands of women from across the nation gathered in D.C. today for the 3rd annual Women's March in Washington. The event starts off with a half-mile march past Trump International Hotel and then a rally at Freedom Plaza in the afternoon, filled with speakers and performers. The National Park Service indicated that only about 10,000 attendees are to be expected at the march, compared to the hundreds of thousands in 2017, briefly after Trump's inauguration. Well, back here in Montana, for the 3rd straight year, Gallatin and Park County residents marched in support of women. MTN's Madaris Babb tells us what the theme of this year's march was and issues women want to see addressed in the future.
Equal rights, equal pay, and an equal voice.
One thought races through Sharon Muldoon's mind as she stands next to her wife, getting ready for the 3rd annual Gallatin and Park County Women's March. That thought? Equality for all.
I think it's about everybody, women are standing up and talking and speaking, but we're speaking for everybody.
The theme of this year's march down 8th Street was admire, inspire, and motivate, a phrase that meant a lot to many.
I know it's really important to have inspiration and role models in your life.
The march ended at Montana Hall, where Bozeman High School freshman and member of the Crow tribe, Florence Doyle, voiced a call to action.
I want to encourage all the young women here, including myself, let's be on the lookout. Let's guard our minds and ignite our ambition. Let's be careful we won't end up just watching videos about other young women warriors. Let's take up our protectors' hearts and become the girls other people make videos about. Let's make our own DIYs with real solutions to real problems. Most importantly, let's find what matters in our world and protect it. Oh.
The event continued with a handful of speakers, Chicks with Sticks drumming band, and a blessing. In Bozeman, Madaris Babb, MTN News.
This year, there was no march here in Billings. Working side by side, doing manual labor can bring people together, and that's part of the benefit of the Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, held today at the Friendship House in downtown Billings. The house helps about 160 children in South Billings, and this has been an annual project for about 12 years now. The event kicks off the Black Heritage Foundation's MLK Jr. celebrations in Billings. This Day of Service is part of a nationwide effort.
When you sweat together and roll up your sleeves, and we will be painting all together, getting paint on yourself or whatever. It really helps you come to realize that we're actually one family under God, when you really think about it. And Martin Luther King always had that vision, that we are one nation under God.
Several events are planned for the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, including the annual bell ring at MSUB starting at 9:45 Monday morning. Another local event today, the Billings Symphony hosted Adventures in Music Day to inspire children. The symphony performed Hedwig's theme from Harry Potter at its family concert today. Jeff Ewell and Zoo Montana brought animals to the show called Symphony in the Wild. Before the concert, the symphony invited families to the Billings Public Library, where children had a chance to see and try out some of the instruments from the orchestra. The day is about inspiring and encouraging children to learn about music.
Studies just show that you learn to incorporate music into your homework, so they just become a better student. We do these instrument petting zoos all over the place. Everywhere you go, you see excitement with all ages of kids. Hopefully they'll pick up an instrument at some point and play in the band or orchestra, or even sing in the choir. As long as they do music, we're happy.
Well, even though it's winter, the Great Rockies Sports Show is already thinking about adventures this summer, and that's just what they displayed today at Metro Park. The show brings fishing and hunting businesses from all over Montana, out of state, and even from outside the country. This is the second of the 3 stops for the show that started in Bozeman and ends in Helena on Friday 2nd. It's a chance to see the excitement and possibilities for many who enjoy outdoor adventures.
I think it has to do a lot with our upbringing, our culture. People grew up here in Montana enjoying the great outdoors, and a lot of people are moving here to Montana and northern Wyoming for the great outdoors. And so we've got a lot of opportunities out there, and this is a place to kind of come and plan for those opportunities.
The Great Rockies Outdoor Show finishes Sunday, running from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Well, longtime favorite in downtown Billings closed today. Pug Mahone's, who was originally expected to close their doors later tonight. So those expecting to have just one last cheers to say goodbye to their favorite hangout spot are no longer able. David J. joins me now with more information. David?
Well, Zoe, we had been trying to call Pug Mahone since this morning, but there was no answer, and we learned this afternoon that it is closed. Family employees are having a private gathering. We tried to be as respectful as possible shooting this video. The front doors are locked, and we talked with some in the alley where we heard about the business being closed. With them mourning Bill McIntyre and the end of Pug Mahone's, they all wanted to be left alone. Meanwhile, Guido's is still open, and there were hugs and goodbyes there as well. The bookie allowed us inside too, and there was also many hugs, cheers, and goodbyes. Definitely a different mood inside both Guido's and the bookie, with customers enjoying their last time together and saying goodbye to the workers. And as we reported earlier this week, the building for Pug Mahone's, Guido's, and the bookie will be sold. The owner of Guido's does not know her future, but wants to continue the business at another location. Zoe?
Thanks so much, David. And thanks so much for watching the 5:30 news here on Q2. After the break, we introduce you to some of Montana's state parks that are considered heritage parks and a program that's preserving their history. And in sports, Scott shows us how MSU's Tyler Hall becomes the all-time leading scorer in Big Sky Conference basketball. But first, let's say hi and check in with meteorologist Connor Pregetzer in the Weather Center.
We've had a pretty nice day here on Saturday. We've been able to feel that additional bit of warmth here today, but unsettled and wintry conditions on the docket for the next week. We'll talk about it coming up in just a little bit.
You're watching MTN News with Zoe Zandora, Storm Tracker Weather with Connor Pregetzer, and Sports with Casey Conlon. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.